I think that, in my early 30s and I have a child. And I think that for me, it's my daughter really has changed the game for me. So I would absolutely be open to a Russell if a Russell was to come into my life. But there were certain life experiences. There's parts of me I didn't even know existed until my heart was broken for the first time. Like there's things
Mhm.
that I learned about myself through heartbreak. I know there's men on here that have learned things about themselves through their first heartbreak and different relationships that have failed, that have made you a better partner on the other side, with or without children. You learn a lot about yourself. You go and you grow through things. And
Mhm.
so I think for myself, you know, I think a lot of women, especially if they are in a position like myself, where you're in your early 30s, you have a child, it didn't work out with the child's father, but at the same time, you want to be open, you want to still, whatever, you're going to be open to more things because you've had to, you can't, you don't, you really, like you said, you don't have the availability, you don't have the time to play
Mhm.
around. Like if I'm spending time with you, I'm intentionally spending time with you. I'm intentionally making sure that if I'm taking time away from my daughter, then I'm going to make sure that it's somebody that's worth that.
Mhm.
And so I think that it really does depend on life experiences and like just where you are in life, and it doesn't, I think that just depending on everybody, Russell, we don't know who Russell was in the beginning. We don't know who Russell was before his first marriage.
Mhm.
We know him now in his second marriage, but
Right.
in his first marriage, we don't know what kind of person he was or where he came from or what he had going on. And now we're seeing him on the second marriage, and it seems like it's going really well. But I think God is intentional and he's sovereign. And so things work together for our good, however that plays out in all of
Now,
our lives.
you said God is intentional. Are you intentional as well? Like, and if you are, what are some things that you're doing, or how, like, are you kind of doing like Sierra, where it seemed like Sierra was just like she tried to find that peace and she began to like really get focused on a relationship with God and different things like that. And that was what intentional looked like for her. Is there things that you feel like intentional looks like for you, or anything like that?
Yes. I had a failed marriage. So my perspective, I mean, I'm a therapist and I see a therapist every week or every other week.
Mhm.
Um, I really am very spiritual. So I really believe that, that my spirituality and my relationship with God has helped me tremendously as far as like trying to do and be and become who God has created me to be. Um, so that's part of my intentionality. And I've kind of gotten away from lists. I've kind of just said, God, I haven't made the best decisions. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
allow you to show me who you want me to be with, because we don't really know who we are. As we continue to grow and learn more about God, we grow and learn more about ourselves. And there's things that he's gonna know about me in 10 years that I don't. So I've
Mhm.
surrendered my list to God. I really have. I've said, listen, it
Well,
is what
how
it
would
is.
how would you
Take the wheel.
know if you surrendered your list to God? How would you know who that guy is once he comes into your path, if you don't, like, if you haven't been thinking about it yourself?
I believe that my spirit, my discernment would allow me to know.
It would kick
I
in.
would I would hope.
All right.
And God has led me in other difficult decisions that I've had to make in my life. So there's times where if someone I'm around and they don't bring about peace in my life, if they come in and seem like chaotic or confusion, I know God is not a God of that. So you test the spirit by the spirit. There's somebody that's in my life that's not bringing me closer to God or encouraging me in a way that brings me closer to him. I know he don't got nothing that's not him. So it's just certain things that I feel like I would know just based upon that. But then, I would already be submitting him. I'll put him on my prayer wall and I'd be praying over that man and wondering if that's God.
Right.
If it's him, take him. If it's not him, take him far, far away from me. And it always works. Always.
There you
It
go.
always works. I'd be like, God, I don't want what you don't want for me.
There you go. Thanks, Samantha. And Anna, she said, can we have a question that doesn't focus on celebrities? It's hard because celebrities are a good reference point on, and people kind of recognize them in their public. so we can kind of point to things and we can use them as examples. That's the reason we're doing it. We're not trying to bash them or criticize them or say anything like that. It's just easier to point to, because they're like, they made their lives public, so we can, it's easier for everybody. It's a good reference point for us. But we're going to go to Lisa. Thanks, Kristen.
Hey guys, can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I just wanted to just make a few points. The first point
First time
about
seeing
being,
you. First time seeing you on camera. I know you've been tapping into our conversation for a little bit, so it's good. It's good to see you though, Lisa.
yeah, this has been very awesome, and I have been hearing like the conversations for the last few online discussions. But I really wanted to talk on this one because obviously something's not working. The rate of divorce is increasing, and something has to give. And I really do believe, like when we talk about intentional dating, we need to talk about the hard stuff. And I know some people like to think of it as interview questions. Some men don't like the tough questions. But if we are going to be intentional, I feel like on date number 1 and number 2, we have to talk about the hard stuff. And it doesn't have to be an uncomfortable conversation. It doesn't have to be anything where people feel like they're being attacked, because I do believe there is a way to talk about difficult things and feel 100% comfortable with that other person. So I do believe you have to gauge that the temperature of the room, the temperature of the date, to see how things are going. I know the dates that I've been on, people have been comfortable talking about those tough things. And that made me kind of decide right then and there whether I wanted to continue with this relationship or not. So I think that's what intentional dating is. I mean, it's cool. I mean, to talk about superficial things, but at the heart of it, if you do want to value your time, certain conversations need to be had a little bit earlier than later. The second thing I want to talk about is physical looks, because I know that in the data that you showed earlier, that both men and women are wanting someone who looks good. And I just really wanted to clarify, because there is a difference between looking good and attractiveness. And there's been many men who look handsome, like societal expectation of what fine is. But the minute they open their mouth, the minute they have a conversation, they become butt ugly to me. So very, very important that we know the difference between good looks and attractiveness, because attractiveness is what's going to hold you. It's more than just the looks. It's that person's character. It's their integrity. It's how they treat that waiter, that waitress. It's a lot of things that keep that attractiveness. So it's very important that as we date intentionally, that we understand that it's the attractiveness that's going to hold you and keep that relationship going. And as we get older, I mean, we're not going to look the same. We're going to get gray hairs. We might gain a little weight. I mean, things happen. So what's going to keep you in that relationship is very important. And the third thing, I'm glad some people talked about like the spiritual aspect of it, but I do believe we need to go back to the foundation of marriage and maybe take a break and pray and fast and ask God, what is it that I need to do in my own life? Maybe there's things that I need to grow in that that's the reason why I haven't found that person yet. So just really going to the creator, going to the source and seeking confirmation from him and his word. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
There you go. Thank you. And it's not only for, you said like, the attractiveness is what holds you. That's the same thing for men, because I've dated a lot of beautiful women, and the looks is what opened the door, but the attractiveness, even for men toward women, like I get there and there's, like she looks good, but there's nothing there, or she's not showing reciprocity or matching my effort. And I found that the hotter she is, the less effort she gives back a lot of times. And that's just from my personal experience. I know it's different for everybody, but real quick question, because we got a lot of people and our time's a little short, but let me just ask you this. You said that asking tough questions initially and early on. Let me ask you, do you ask the questions first to see if they, if like the response is something you align with, or do you give your position and then ask what their position is?
Well, it kind of goes back. I mean, either way. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes
So
I
it's
ask
just
the
a
question.
conversation.
It's just a conversation. It can
All
go
right.
either way.